Jews, gingers, fat asses, and fart jokes. Yep, this cartoon anal cavity of hilarity decided to offend everyone as much as possible while hitting real social issues that plague the world. But South Park is so much more than just a comedic show. It was a trailblazer in TV comedy and social commentary. Between the dicks, butts, farts, and Jews lies a true desire for viewers to gain a new understanding of what is happening in the world and how insanely ridiculous it is. South Park's influence has been even more massive than your mom's butt. This show put Comedy Central on the map as a real network. Programs like The Daily Show and Last Week Tonight would not have existed without South Park creating the space and audience first. And now we're at the tip of the dick of season 20, and judging from the last one, it's gonna be a doozy. Underneath all of the ridiculous genius goop that spews from the creators' brainholes each week lies the true motive of South Park: to see just how far free speech can be pushed. South Park didn't just push the boundaries of what's okay on TV, it shoved its cartoony hand up the world's ass and gave it the wedgie of liberty it needed to feel. South Park changed the course of TV media for the past 20 years, and without it, free speech as we know it may not exist, even if you completely disagree with me. First Amendment, bitch! What you gonna do? Something that rhymes with story you never knew. To keep this video as close to a South Park episode as possible, I've made a checklist of things to look out for throughout the video. We will include at least one Jew joke, which is totally kosher, Kenny will die, and someone will get anally probed. Check that last one off the list. What allows South Park to be hilarious is the freedom for the creators to write anything they want. This freedom is taken for granted so often in our daily lives that we rarely think about how lucky we are to be able to say whatever pops into our craniums. This isn't the case in many other places of the world. China still doesn't have YouTube, which is bullshit. Can you imagine how many views we'd have? The Viewmanity! All those children are missing out on my anal probing because the government is restricting what they can watch. North Korea is an even worse example. There is no de facto right to free speech there. All radio, TV, music, and news is run by the government for the government. There's no journalism that questions the political structure, no TV making fun of the country's leader, no music symbolizing the desire to leave such a restricted place. These all fall under free speech, something we take for granted as a basic human right. Hell, for us Americans, it's the First Amendment to our Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Why do political leaders need to use "I'm an asshole" language? They just needed to say Congress won't stop people, religions, or the press from saying things. Oh, and people can meet up and stuff. North Korea has no such amendment, law, or anything to protect the public. The only law is don't piss off Kim Jong-un, or else you'll probably get thrown into one of Un's prison camps that's considered on par with the Nazi concentration camps of World War II. The importance of this liberty isn't lost on South Park's themes. Every season of South Park revolves around pushing the limits of what can be said on TV. Freedom of speech is more important to us than money is to a Jew. Boom! Jew joke! You see, it's okay to say that because of freedom of speech. Just take a look at South Park. How many Jew jokes has the show had? You can even play as a Jew in South Park: The Stick of Truth and learn Jiu-Jitsu. All of this is possible because we allow freedom of speech. The creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, make fun of who they are and make fun of the rest of the world while pushing the limits of what can be allowed on television. When the word shit was finally allowed to be said on TV without bleeping it, Trey and Matt said shit over 100 times within 20 minutes while satirically showing that curse words create a demon that destroys the world. The satire here is that these curse words aren't hurting anyone, and that worrying about uncensored curse words have as real an effect on our life as a giant fantasy demon, aka none. South Park pokes fun at all religions too. Anything from Jews making macaroni art for Moses to the Buddha snorting coke to Jesus watching porn. It's all on the table, and it all tickles our funny bones. This may seem like making fun of different religions, but it's making fun of the idea of religion as a whole. By showing that no religion is left alone in South Park, the creators are explaining that they believe all these holy figures are nothing special and that religious intolerance is a load of hanky the Christmas poo. Trey and Matt make fun of every religion with hardly any controversy, despite the fact that the majority of people on Earth align with some sort of religion. Except for that Muhammad thing. But 19 seasons in, that's not too shabby. That's the power of freedom of speech, to make fun of the entire world and have the world laugh alongside you. You might have noticed that South Park is a cartoon. That is actually super duper important. The cartoon medium has become the apex of pushing freedom of speech to its extremes. Cartoons allow us to disassociate what's happening on the screen from real life. We don't see a real person or a real face, so we can more easily imagine these fictional characters going through these asinine scenarios. Because of this disconnect between cartoons and real life, cartoons can get away with saying more than any live-action show. They can take the extreme and defensive side of things without major consequences because it seems so disconnected from our world. Even though South Park is the prototypical example of this, you see the same thing in other cartoons that followed in its footsteps. Archer, Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman, Boondocks, and probably everything on Adult Swim. All these shows push the boundaries in a way only cartoons can because South Park thrust its way there first. The most recent season embodies all these values and narrows its gaze upon the triggered elephant in the room: political correctness. Can I say that? Oh yeah, free speech. Thanks, South Park. We're about to delve dick first into the epic fleshlight that is Season 19, so get ready for some spoilers, baby! The general premise leaves Principal Victoria removed from her job after 18 seasons at the helm, with a new character replacing her: PC Principal. This turd nugget has one goal: clean up South Park to be more inclusive and in line with social justice. That actually doesn't sound so bad. Indeed, even Kyle, the moral center of the show, welcomes the new change.
You know what? I think it's good. Let's face it, this is long overdue.
The idea really does sound good on paper. Who wouldn't want to include as many people as possible and make everyone feel safe? But the problem with political correctness in its current form is revealed to us by South Park through PC Principal. PC Principal is a bro. He is but one of countless examples of South Park turning stereotypes on their head. In Season 19 alone, we've got PC Principal, Canadians as illegal immigrants, and Mr. Garrison, a gay dude who was once a woman, as a Donald Trump equivalent. I think they do this for two reasons. One, it removes the show enough from reality so that we can laugh at it without feeling bad. And two, it allows us to see social behavior from another perspective that isn't muddled by our feelings towards the real people who take those actions. That takes us back to PC Principal. With this character fully in the throes of brodom, South Park shows us the problems and hypocrisies of the political correctness movement today. The PC bros go on and on about social justice, racial inequality, and the like. They want to be a voice for the downtrodden in a system rigged against them. But do they really care about the people they defend? South Park says, no, not really. When the PC frat, yes, they have a frat, holds an event to raise awareness for the disabled, Jimmy attends only to be ignored by the bros all night so they can crush puss. And the entire PC frat and all the partygoers are decidedly white. Instead of actually caring about the victims that they go on about, these PC bros seem to only be interested in virtue signaling, which is basically sounding moral for the sheer act of seeming like a good person without any real follow-through. Yeah, I'm so PC, bro. Rainforests. Wanna go upstairs so I can crush your puss? This type of attitude shows itself in Randy, too. He fights so hard for progressive values. I mean, he even gets a Whole Foods for the town. Yet when the homeless that have flocked to South Park are lined at his feet, Randy shows his true colors. But beyond the virtue signaling, South Park shows us the real problem lying at the underbelly of political correctness as it stands today. In the first episode of the season, Cartman enters the bathroom to hopefully frame PC Principal for raping Butters. But instead of getting upset about that, PC Principal goes off on Cartman for using the word capiche, and continues his brutal beatdown after Cartman says spokesman instead of spokesperson. The final irony comes at the end of the scene when PC Principal defends those who have to go through the kind of verbal violence that Cartman had just displayed, all while beating the shit out of Cartman's face, blood flying. And while the scene starts out funny, By the end of this epic and violent beatdown, the audience is left feeling more disturbed than anything else. It reminds me of the attempted rape scene in Rick and Morty, in which the show creators stated they wanted the scene to be disturbing. I think the same kind of thing is going on here, because at the core of the current political correctness movement lies a violence that is truly disturbing. Often, this violence crops up in the form of censorship. There's UMass Amherst with the infamous Trigglypuff and the shouting down of a show paid for by students. There's DePaul with a protest and intimidating takeover of another student-run event. And Dalhousie, a Canadian university where a controversy with male students who posted crass jokes in a Facebook group led to a professor calling for women to speak first in every classroom on campus. But there's more! A kid bullied for wearing dreadlocks. Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock don't want to perform at college campuses. Ellen's racist? What's going on anymore? Luckily, there hasn't been much physical violence resulting from these attitudes. Not yet anyway. But I feel I need to remind you what's at stake here. For that, let's take it back to good old 2014 and a movie called The Interview. The Interview was a Seth Rogen and James Franco flick with a huge target in its sights: North Korea and Kim Jong-un. Remember, The Interview was pulled from a major theatrical release by Sony due to... what was it again? Oh yeah. A death threat to any moviegoer seeing it in theaters. North Korea denied their involvement in the death threats. Yeah, okay, North Korea. You could say that, in a sense, the guardians of peace who issued the death threats are operating on a kind of political correctness. Except their version only cares about offending their dear leader, Kim Jong-un. And the actions taken to guarantee that no one offends their dear leader? Censorship. Under the threat of physical violence. Obviously, what we see in the States is not quite at this level, but the need to censor and the beginning of a complete disregard of free speech is all there. Let me leave you with one more example to drive this point home. On January 7th, 2015, at about 11:30 in the morning, two brothers broke into the offices of the French satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo. Armed with assault rifles and other weapons, they killed 11 people and injured 11 others. Their motive for the murders? According to the terrorist organization that claimed responsibility for the attacks, the motive was revenge for the honor of Muhammad. Charlie Hebdo had previously depicted cartoon versions of Muhammad. People died for making a cartoon. This is a big deal, and that's why free speech is important. Whatever your politics, censorship and violence is not the answer. Let's hear what people have to say, even if it's as offensive as South Park. And now, there's a new era on the horizon, an era without South Park. The show is going into its 20th season with only 4 more seasons confirmed. We've come so far in terms of what can be said and what can be laughed at because South Park's creators were willing to push the envelope. But South Park won't last forever. Although ratings are still relatively strong, South Park is no longer in its heyday. Matt and Trey are in their mid-40s, and they're already scaling back the number of episodes per season to have more time for themselves. Comedy Central seems willing to keep the show so long as Matt and Trey are willing to produce it. But are they going to keep doing this forever? What happens when they decide to stop creating South Park? When there's no one pushing the extremes of free speech? Will we see a retraction of what was previously okay? Or will we be alright without an extreme show to hold the torch? All too soon, we may lose the show that got us this far. The world changed for the better when South Park began. Will we be able to say the same for when it ends? South Park pioneered the adult cartoon industry, bringing laughs and understanding to a world choked with problems. And without it, our problems may become even worse than before. And that's the story. You never knew. Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastards! You know what else kills? Us on stage, in front of you! At PAX West, cause that's gonna be happening on Monday, September 5th at 10 a.m. We're pretty sure they do that whole streaming thing, so you should watch us answer questions and embarrass ourselves. Just follow us on Twitter at Treesicle Team for updates on our panel and where we'll be during PAX. So, yeah, that's all. At Treesicle Team on Twitter. Yeah.